What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. And what I got for your face balls today, we're going to talk a little bit, kind of a follow-up video, I suppose, on the video I did about CRKs and whether or not they are worth the money. And so the way I'm going to do this is we are going to look at a bunch of the comments that were put up on the video that I posted out there about these two knives. And I'm going to answer some of the questions in these comments and just talk about a few things. So one of the things that I failed to mention, and really it's just because I personally wouldn't really take advantage of this, but for people that do buy these knives, one of the things that you get when you purchase a CRK knife is access to their what they call spa treatment as well as the warranty. And the warranty is really kind of second to none in the knife industry. As long as you didn't mistreat something, or they'll definitely cover any factory defects or anything like that. But within reason, I'm gonna say that they'll probably take care of you if you were to break something on the knife. But even if you did mistreat it, the thing that's really nice about this is that the parts are always going to be available. These knives have been made for so long, and because the tolerances and the machining processes are what they are, the parts are always going to fit, and there's something to be said for that. So, there were several people that made mention about, my TwoSun knives. And if you guys have ever watched my channel, you know that I have tons of TwoSun knives and I love them. They're fantastic. But the reality is that 10 years from now, if I need to get parts for this knife, it's probably not going to be very easy for me to do that. There's a huge price difference between a knife like this and a CRK knife. And all of that, comes into the equation. So, although I love my TwoSun knives, they're just not in the same category and it's not the same thing. So the other thing here is I feel like people maybe misconstrued what I was saying. I wasn't telling every person to run out and buy a CRK knife. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is if you're in the market to purchase a $400 or $600 knife, I think this is a great place to look because of what you're getting. So anyway, we're going to touch on a few of those things and maybe clear up a few things that I didn't make totally clear yesterday. So here is the video. I'm going to shut this off real quick. I think. There we go. And let's see what we got here on the comments. So we've got, right at the moment, this video has got 648 views, and we've got 29 comments. So we're going to scroll down and go to the first comments that were placed here. And Mike54321 says, they are not worth the money. The same people are paying $600 for some ugly... the same people paying $600 for some ugly Yeezys are who these overhyped knives are made for. Mike54321, I could not disagree with you more. And real quick, speaking of TwoSuns, we also have a brand new one here that we're going to unbox here in just a moment, so stay tuned for that, because that's going to be interesting. It's a super cool one for sure. It's one I'm super excited to get my hands on. Anyway, Mike, people paying $600 for a pair of shoes that are made in the exact same factory and the same materials, the same construction methods, just because of what they say or what they look like, that is a completely different world from a CRK knife. CRK knife, you're paying for an expert level of machining and a level of fit and finish that goes incrementally higher than other brands out there. Now, a lot of people will say that they don't need a knife that has this level of obsession and precision put into it, and that's fine. If you feel that way, I fully understand where you're coming from. But if you're gonna spend $500 on a knife, This is a knife that is actually worth $500. There are lots of knives out there that cost $500 that are not built any better or any different than this knife right here. And this knife right here you can buy for just over $100. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. There is a noticeable difference between the construction methods, the design, the machining that goes into this, the thought and care that went into this, and then the company standing behind it, that is completely different, and it's in a total different world compared to hyped sneakers that cost $600 and they're built exactly like the $50 ones. So totally different situation. Alex says, Chris Reeves knives are of another era. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of knives that are 90% as good for a fraction of the price. Sorry, Chris and his fanboys. Alex, I agree. I agree with what you're saying there. They are of another era. This is definitely an old school, not the same type of manufacturing that people do in today's world. Or not on any sort of large scale. You have smaller boutique brands that do this kind of thing, and they do it at a very high level, and that's exactly what Chris Reeves is doing. So they are kind of a different era, and there are knives out there that are 90% the knife for a fraction of the cost, without question. So I agree with that statement for sure. But again, if you're in the market for this, that's my point here. If you're in the market, so Big Sean says, I'll put my TwoSuns up against Sabenzas any day. Okay, Big Sean. Nobody can question my love for TwoSun knives, and I'll be the first one to talk about their quality level and how well they're made for the price. All the TwoSun knives, and I've had literally hundreds of TwoSun knives. There's a brand new one right here in this package that we'll unbox in a moment. But none of the TwoSun knives are made on this level. They're just not. I know what kind of machining it takes to do both of these knives, and although I love TwoSuns, and I do, they're just not on the level of a CRK knife. CRK, the amount of grinding that they do, the surface grinding, the precision that goes into this, and then the heat treat of the blade, you can get S35 in a whole bunch of areas. I mean, here's an American Blade Works version 4, and it has S35 VN blade steel, but I promise you that both the Sabenza and the Inkosi is going to outperform it in every measurable way when it comes to that blade steel, because Chris Reeves, they have perfected their heat treat, and they've done it to obsession-like levels. So they're using one steel, and they do the absolute best they can with that steel. So, there's something, that's what you're paying for. So, okay. Sky Corrigan, yes, the answer is yes. Okay, sounds good. Gorilla Mike 5150. It's the same as any tool. I wouldn't buy an $800 impact gun and let it sit in my toolbox. I'm going to make that sumbitch pay me back every penny I spent. I agree, Mike. And it's sad that a bunch of people purchase these knives, and because of the cost, which I fully understand, but because of the cost, they don't ever get them out and whoop on them. And it's unfortunate, because that's where these things really shine. They really are a tool. They're meant to be used. So pull your CRKs and use them. Chicago 23 says, so CRK over the Arius, the ZT0562, the Strider, Hinderer, and Microtech. Yes, all of the above. The CRKs are better machined, better design, better supported, all of those things over all of those other knives. I'm not saying that all of those other knives are not decent, but that's what I'm talking about. Is if you're in the market and going to spend $500, a Koenig Arius is a nice knife. It's not on the level of a Sabenza or an Inkosi or anything coming out of Chris Reeves knife. Chris Reeves. So that's where I'm getting at. The Arius is more on the lines of this, where it's a good design, it's made with CNC mills, and it's a cool knife, without a question. But the reason that it commands $500 is because there's one guy making them, and they're a limited production kind of a situation. And so, if they ran massive production runs of Arius, the price on them would drop significantly because they would meet demand, and then they wouldn't command nearly as much money. So, there you go. Tier 1 Gear and EDC Reviews. He says, to be honest, it's worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. Of course, I've owned a few over the years and would probably pay it again for the right one, but hell, I've seen $20,000 tubes of toothpaste before. To each his own, I guess. Okay, Tier 1. I personally have never seen a $20,000 tube of toothpaste, but again, to each their own. The comment of it's worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it, I would say that that's true if we're talking secondary market. But in this case here, we're talking about brand new products that are on the market that you can purchase. If Chris Reeves were to adjust their prices because they feel that they're pricing themselves out of the market or something like that. But we know what these knives cost because we can just go on their website or go to any CRK dealer and purchase them. So yeah, I mean, there's an asking price, so worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. I think that really just kind of talks to the secondary market, I suppose. Jesse Burgunder says, Madman breaking down two knives at once. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of mechanical things, and so breaking down 10 knives at once really is not that big of a deal. They're real simple when you compare them to something like motorcycle transmissions or something like that, where there's an insane number of parts. A Therapeutic Edge, Peter says, the short answer is no. The long answer is also no. But the extra $200 you pay for the name and all the small touches, the attention to detail, and the extremely tight tolerances take effort and precision. That takes time, and time is money. Without a question, or without a doubt, I agree with the attention to detail and the extremely tight tolerances take effort and precision. That takes time, and time is money. Absolutely. And that's what you're buying. Now, whether or not that's worth the extra $200 to you, that's a question that you have to answer for yourself. What I'm telling you is that in the place, or in the elite market of $500 and up dollar knives, CRK is one of the very few that actually back that up with high-end precision and the quality of it. There's no discernible quality difference in some of these other knives that are also asking $500. But the reason they're getting $500 is just because they're made in small batches, and for whatever reason they're overhyped, and so people are willing to pay that much money to get their hands on something. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Okay. Klaus Siersma, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, Klaus. He says the Sabenza 31 costs between 525 and 600 euros here in Holland, and that's the plain and normal inlaid models, nothing special like Damasteel and special graphics, so no. That's just a deal of the global market. You guys have to pay value-added taxes over there, so I understand. I mean, 600 euros, what's that, a little over $700, 720, 730, something like that. These knives are not worth that, and they would not bring that kind of money here either. So I understand that, but that's more to do with your where you live and the politics of it than anything. John West says, hey OCD, my faceballs really appreciate the CRKs. Thanks for the review. Well, you're welcome, John. I appreciate you watching. Sky Corrigan says, love the Tanto. Can't wait until they make the Tanto in the 31 in S45VN. Yes, S45VN is coming soon to CRK, so that should be cool. It'll be interesting to see you know, how well it performs from CRK for sure. Lion Knives says, my 45 Euro Steel H6 has also washers with holes in it. It's on washers and smoother than most folders on bearings I have handled. Okay, yeah. The holes in the washers, that's not special to CRK. There's multiple manufacturers that do that, and it's definitely a good thing when you're riding on phosphor bronze washers. Having those relief holes where debris and material can get into, that just helps everything. And one thing that is kind of special to CRK knives is just the large diameter of the washers is quite impressive. So, all right, Patty, how you doing, Patty? He says, I agree entirely with your conclusion. I adore mine and beat the snot out of it. LOL, attaboy, Patty. Thank you so much, Patty. I appreciate you watching. I'm glad you're using your CRK, which is fantastic. Yeah, so beat her up. Randy F says, good information and breakdowns, well done. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate you watching. Stephen LaChance. I bought one, a large Nkosi, and that's all I'll ever need. I use all my knives, but the CRK almost never makes it into rotation. I much prefer the XM18 as a user. Not sure why, just the way it is. PM2 Shaman also beat the CRK into pocket. Glad for others rank them so high. YMMV. Okay. So, on this, Stephen, you know, if you like one over another, just personal preference, you know, that's totally on you. The CRK, though, in that lineup of knives, the XM18, the PM2, and the Shaman, the CRK is just a superior constructed knife. It just is. So, you know, but the reality is that all those other knives that you mentioned there are cheaper, and yeah. So there you go. William Lenderman, very enlightening video, Justin. You explained quite well why Chris Reeves knives cost what they cost, and they are worth what they cost. That's up to each individual to decide for his or herself. Do I need a CRKT? Or CRKT, good God. Do I need a CRK? No, I do not. Would I like to have one? Oh, hell yes. And if I had enough coin of the realm, I would order one today. Alas and alack, while I'm not totally broke, if riverboat rides were a dime, all I could do would be stand at the dock and holler, what a deal, ain't that cheap? So, yeah, thanks, William. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. And the knives, you know, it's not for everyone. You know, it's definitely a select market that is going to be spending, you know, 400, 450 and up on a pocket knife. But in the realm of that kind of boutique or niche market in the knife world, these are definitely good to go. Christopher Tank says, great video, man. I like to Anno as well. How'd you get the thumb studs out? Very carefully. So you can remove these thumb studs, and I would just encourage you to be careful while doing it. They just press out. So there you go. Mr. Jinx says, in my opinion, yes, they are worth it. Before I got my first, I was skeptical, thinking that they might be overhyped. It wasn't until I disassembled and reassembled that I had a moment of realization. No fiddling with the little Torx screws. Tighten everything up and it goes right back to being perfectly centered. Zero blade play. The fitment is at a very high tolerance. I have a large Sebenza, large Nkosi, and Umnums on. When the 31 comes out in S45 VN, I'll be getting one for sure. Add in their warranty, spa treatment. I have no issues with their price. There you go, Mr. Jinx. I'm glad that you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Mark Wazowski says, great question. Bondus makes great Allen wrenches for sure. Still on the fence if it's worth the cost of entry. I have one, so I guess maybe. Will I ever use it for major tasks? No. Will I use a much, much cheaper knife for the task, whichever it is, except opening packages unless I have a cheaper knife at hand? I have knives everywhere, so it will not get used. That's a bummer, Mark. I I fully encourage anyone that has these knives to use them because that's really where they shine. I understand. I get the fact that it's kind of hard to bring yourself to do it. If you scratch it, you're going to be mad and that sort of a thing. But the beauty in these knives is really they're workers. So yeah, but to each their own. Patrick R. Didn't know much about CRK until this video. I appreciate the education. As you said, it's funny that most don't see hard use, even though that's what they're made for. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for watching, Patrick. I appreciate it. Here we got a comment from Slicey Dicey. Great video. I've been working on similar ones for Hinderer and ProTech since I have way too many of each. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Hinderer and ProTech, they certainly, Hinderer especially, makes a lot of knives that are in this same sort of price range. I would argue 10 out of 10 times, CRK they're just operating at a much higher level than Hinderer is. Hinderer, if you love the designs, whatever, to each their own. But CRK, that's why I'm saying that you can justify spending the money on a CRK. ProTech is a different thing altogether. But thanks for watching, Brian. I appreciate it. And good luck with the videos. H. Castell, great video, very informative. CRKs are expensive, but as you said, you get what you pay for. They last a lifetime, and you can pass them on to others to use and enjoy. That is true. And so this particular knife right here was beat all to shit and back, and I brought it back. It looks brand new. We changed the color of the thumb stud and the little bits on it. But so you can beat the holy hell out of them. And then, if you happen to break a blade or whatever, you can spend $30 and get another blade for it. And that will still be true, 10 years from now. Maybe it'll be $35 or something. But either way, this is more of an investment long-term than it is just, this is not a throwaway item. Okay. So the Knife Whisperer. Yeah, Blade HQ has a 2-part video shop tour of CRK. Great video, Justin. Thanks, the Knife Whisperer, for watching. I appreciate it. Lion Knives says, what's up, Justin and Molly? Hope you guys are doing well. Greetings from Australia. Thank you, sir. Greetings. Hopefully things are going well over in Australia. Justin EDC says, very cool video. I found it really interesting because I'm actually saving for my first CRK right now. I got to handle a 31 at a local knife shop that I didn't know existed, new to me, LOL. This video just reassured that me saving for one will be worth it. Thank you. Awesome. Justin EDC, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Professor EDC, great video, Justin. I've been going for months at it, figuring out if these knives are worth it. Still don't have all the answers I need to make the video. Let's hope in this decade. Yeah, Professor. Yeah. Once you get your hands on one of these, I'm sure you will absolutely love it. I mean, it is a perfectly functional knife that's made to be worked, and it's kind of perfection in every single way. So, yeah, I don't imagine you'll be bummed about it at all. All right, Joe M. I love my Chris Reeves knives. The first one I purchased was in the late 80s, and I still have it. But to answer the question, no, they are not worth $500. There is no doubt that they're exquisitely made with the best materials, but today there are so many wonderful knives out there with great materials, well-made, ball bearings, and for like $100. No doubt it's a tough business. Okay, so Joe M. So my point here, I guess, is what I'm saying. You say you love your Chris Reeves, and the first one you purchased was in the late 80s, and you still have it. So that's what I'm talking about. So, knives that certainly there's tons of knives out there. Yeah, okay. That's the last question or comment, so I'm just going to put that away. But there are tons of knives out there that are much cheaper than a Chris Reeves knife, and that are really great. They're fantastic, as a matter of fact. I have many, and I love them, and they're fantastic. But with Chris Reeves, you're getting a different level of precision and expertise. Is that for everyone? No. And I fully understand that and appreciate it. But for those that are in the market for a $500 knife or $450 or whatever it is, if you're only in the market for a $200 knife, well, that's a different situation. But for those that are in this market, this is a great place to go. You're actually getting fit and finish that coincides with that price point. You're getting materials that are obsessed over for years and years and years to make the perfect heat treat, to make the perfect fit and finish and the perfect pocket clip retention and all these things. There's a reason why so many people copy this pocket clip, because it works and it works well. There's a reason why so many people have copied the Reeves integral lock or a frame lock, because it works and it works well. So these knives have set the precedent for so many other companies to do what they're doing. And so you cannot deny that heritage, if you will. So anyway, like I said, I'm not saying everybody needs to run out and buy a CRK knife. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if you are in this market, your $450 is much better spent here than it is buying some Hinderer knife that has the tri-way pivot that only works with bearings or whatever. That the fit and finish is questionable at best, and that they discourage you from disassembling it because nothing is machined accurately, and so it has to be assembled with just the correct amount of torque on this screw and that screw to make the blade straight and make the action good. CRK knives are not that. CRK knives are perfectly machined. That's why you can disassemble them and reassemble them without any issue. And that's what you're paying for. Okay. So hopefully that cleared things up. All right. Now let's get to this, because I'm excited to check this out. And we're going to use the Sebenza to open it. Excellent. This is a knife I've really been looking forward to. It's kind of a crazy one. It's a TwoSun. So let's just get right into it. Man, it feels thick. It's kind of got the box pooched out here. Whoa. This is a first. So we got loose ceramic ball bearings in a bag. Here's the knife. If you guys, any of your TwoSun fans might already know what this is. Okay, let's get this thing opened up. Now, this knife has been available for purchase for maybe a couple months, probably. Here it is. And honestly, I can't even remember what the number on it is. I'll put it in the video description. Check that thing out. Look at that. You know, the ZT, I don't even remember which one it was, had a hole through the pivot. Was it the 606 or something? I can't remember. But this thing, that's a hole through the pivot. Now, I have giant fingers, but my pinky finger will fit all the way through the hole. So, but none of my other fingers will. I can't even get it past my first knuckle on my, yeah. So there you go. But that's a big ass hole through that pivot. This is a Mazwan Mokhtar design. Super pumped about this one. Really cool. So it is a front flipper as well as a flipper tab here. I don't know how well it flips. You also have a fuller here that you might, oh yeah. So real quick, let's just, definitely has got a recurve to it, which is interesting. I'm generally not a huge fan of recurves, but I can make exceptions. This thing is very thin behind the edge. I'm just wiping the oil off of it now. Excellent. Oh, one thing I didn't do, which I'll have to go and grab. I've grabbed the sharpness tester since we're opening a brand new knife here. Okay, now this thing's got quite a bit of tension on it. It doesn't feel like, I mean, you know, certainly, yeah, you can roll it out, but I'm not sure what's going on inside there. We'll definitely have to open this thing up and see what this construction is like. But it's a cool looking knife, that's for sure. This one is in 14C28N. This is the TwoSun TS234 Kodiak. There you go. Oh, it's got a skeleton hand giving you the bird on the pocket clip, which is kind of funny. So let me go grab the sharpness tester. I'll be right back and we'll see if this thing's got a good edge. All right, guys, back in here. Let me move this stuff out of the way. We'll get the sharpness tester out here. Get her fired up. It looks, actually, need to move this a bit. Okay, zero that. Okay, here we go. $170. So not the actually it feels pretty sharp back in that recurve area. We'll give her one shot back there as well. So 170, a decent test. I mean, we're looking for under 200, but certainly not the best edge I've ever seen. We've had a few Spydercos be sub 100 out of the box, which is really fantastic. So here we go. Ah, 195. So still a sharp knife, no doubt about it. But yeah, could be a little bit better. But really interesting knife. So because they sent extra loose ceramic balls, I'm going to assume that this is loose ceramic bearings in there, which is nice to know going in. You can see their blade is perfectly centered and just an interesting knife all the way around. Pocket clip looks like it's got plenty of space underneath it. Yeah. So there's, like I said, there's just a lot of tension against it. There's two detents. I can see down in there. This is going to be a really interesting one to open up. Because there's some cool stuff going on in there. I can see detent balls coming from both sides down inside there. So, yeah, it looks like there's probably going to be some spring-loaded detent balls. Doesn't look like, or maybe there is. Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, well, actually, there's three. Wow. There's a lot going on inside there. So anyway, guys, we'll get this thing opened up in a different video and check it out, and yeah, really give it the once over, because it's definitely an interesting knife. So, all right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. Follow up on the Chris Reeves stuff and the opening of the TS234 Kodiak. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. I'm out.